Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4074. Today's date is May 26, 2026. It's been almost like a night at 9:53 p.m. Uh, so sometimes I just I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like stupid. Sometimes I just feel like that ki I know so many things and today I am kind of like a think about from my parents point of perspective regarding about what their son should supposed to be. Okay, and I try to think from my parents point of perspective. Okay, might be the stuff that I said today is completely wrong in the future, because right now I am not a parent, so I don't really have that feeling of being parent, but I try to think from parent point of perspective. Okay, today I might think this might be a reason, but in future point of perspective I'm not really sure that the stuff that I said today is legit right, because I'm not became a parent. Okay, dude, yeah, first of all, why are you thinking from your parents point of perspective? Okay, like, why? Like, you are kind of like a, like, basically is this thing you are thinking that na ki, like basically like the failure of actually happen in your life is no, I'm not like okay, first of all, is that am I a failure? Now, from visual point of perspective or technical point of perspective, I think I am. Okay, that key, I'm 32, I am living with my parents, I am not earning any money, so probably, yeah, from visual point of perspective, yes, I am failure. But from my point of perspective, I am not a failure. I am learning so much, I am getting knowledge so much, I am understanding the world so much, I am understanding the people so much. The amount of information that I have is like basically is this thing na ki sometime I understand that ki I understand the world, probably. So am I failure? Probably would be like a, basically it's a kind of like overconfidence. Okay, yeah, because you might think that ki you win the world, but you are such a stupid shit. Probably this might be a true too. So who am I? Am I a failure or am I what? Well, I don't know. Am I a failure or am I successful? I just only one thing I know, that I am on the right track. Okay. The goal that I wanted to achieve, the ambition that I wanted to achieve, I will gonna achieve if I am on this track. I will keep pushing and I will kind of like simply achieve my goals, achieve my target, get my ambitions and everything. I will gonna do this thing. I will gonna get all those things if I just kind of like keep in my path. Okay. So am I failure? I'm not really sure. Then why does kind of like your parents are kind of like thinking that you are failure? Okay, so that's why I am kind of like thinking from my parents point of perspective. Okay, yeah, let me think from my parents point of perspective. I am trying to understand what is actually things and that. Okay. First of all, let me tell you the situation right now. Okay. So my father, like, basically is this thing that my father built another 2 room. They are kind of like a building another 2 rooms. Okay, yeah. Almost like uh, a tomorrow, the slab will construct, built, or whatever it is. Okay. So they are building those 2 rooms. Why? For renting. Okay, yeah. Like basically when they build those 2 rooms, then which will kind of like a really helpful for them, so that they would supposed to be rent that 2 rooms. Okay, yeah. Why they are kind of like doing it that? Because my parents think that I might not achieve anything in my life. I will be kind of like a became a burden in their life. And basically it's this thing that my parents think that when they will die, how much the money will gonna come, how does my child, means me, how does my child will survive. They wanted to earn money, okay, in the future too, from that rent. Okay, so building a 2 rooms, okay, would be kind of like a something a financial helpful for future point of perspective. All right. So tell me, is it right, wrong? What is exactly is this thing? Okay. My parents' point of perspective, it is completely right. Okay, yeah. Do you want, like, do you agree on that? Does my parents are kind of like doing it that? Well, first of all, is that I don't really kind of like involved in my parents' thing. Okay, yeah. Like I believe that I am living with my parents, so this is my parents' home. This is not my home. Okay, whatever they wanted to do with their home, they can do it. But dude, they are kind of like building this thing for you, na? In the future, you will kind of like earning money from that rent and things and that, right? But let me tell you something like that. Okay, is it like a I don't know. Probably is this thing na ki am I like this thing? I don't like this thing. Okay, yeah. Like first of all is that na I don't really care at all. Okay, I just only wanted to do my work. I just only wanted to do my work, and I have so much amount of work to do, and I don't want to spend any single amount of minute of kind of like a looking at the worker, how they are kind of like a building and things and that. I don't want to kind of like a waste any of my single amount of minute on something like a basically what exactly happened now. Okay, the stuff that I'm doing today, it will matter in the future. But if I not do that thing today, and I will kind of like a help the worker or help my things, or maybe kind of like a something bad, be a kind of like a good son and kind of like a help my parents to kind of like a build the room and things and that, then this does not really add any kind of like a value in me. Nothing really at all. Okay, then why does kind of like a something that's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, that's why I'm trying to think from my parents' point of perspective. Okay, yeah, so that I would gonna understand why does my parents think like that way. Okay, so I'm trying to understand from my father point of perspective first. Okay, yeah. So my father is a very poor. Okay, like literally they are born in very poor family. My grandfather was kind a servant. Okay, my father's father, they don't really have farms. They are not farmer. My father's fathers, means my grandfather, are servant. they are kind of like a somebody work on patil. Okay, what's a patil? Patil is a head of the village probably. Okay, yeah. At that time my grandfather was a kind of like a doing a servant. Okay, like a mopping the floor or whatever that they kind of like a do the work. My grandfather kind of like a doing it that. Okay, now uh, because of my grandfather is a kind of like a somebody servant, they are not really earning any kind of like a money, nothing really at all. Okay, even if at that time my grandfather doesn't really have any home, they have a kind of like a small jhopda or things like that. Jhopda means like that I don't know, a kind of like a somebody broken house probably. A house is actually made of clay and things and that something like that. Okay, not too much, just kind of like a somebody they have things. Okay, not too much and very poor. Okay, yeah. My grandmother is kind of like a doing a work at a farm, other farms. Okay, like basically this thing they like my grandmother is kind of like earning money by day wages. Okay, yeah, like she kind of like do work in other farms, and she kind of like earn money per day, and she try to survive these three kids. Okay, yeah, my father, my father big brother, माझे मोठे वडील, and माझी आत्या. Atya means my father little sister. Okay, so basically is this thing that ki my father's family is a very legit poor. Okay, yeah, they don't really have meal twice in a day. They don't really have like a basic amenity. They don't really have anything at all, just kind of like a barely surviving on something that whatever they are kind of like getting. My father told me that ki till he 7th standard he haven't really wear any slippers. Yeah, literally just like that na ki like he didn't really wear slippers like the slippers that I'm wearing today right now. These are kind of like a very much common thing. My father didn't really wear till the 7th standard. Okay, like basically is this thing my when my father kind of like went to like not 7th standard, 7th or 10th standard probably they kind of like a mention. I'm not really sure exact detail, but somewhat something that na ki my father didn't really get kind of like the sleepers or clothes or nothing really at all. Okay, they just kind of like a I don't know, like they don't really like they are very poor, like they can't able to be afford two times food meal per day. Obviously you imagine whatever the choice that they have. And my father, they see lot of struggle to being poor. Okay, now let me tell you one thing. My मोठे वडील means my father's big brother, they kind of like somebody they also see the lot of struggle too, being a poor and things and that. But my मोठे वडील means my father big brother, they kind of like somebody studied, and because of the study they went to the college, and because of they went to the college they kind of like get a job and things and that. By the way, at that time, okay, my family is actually belong to the scheduled caste community. Okay, so basically this thing my मोठे वडील means my father big brother, they kind of like educate a little bit, they kind of like get opportunity to get a job, and they get a job. Okay, they got the job. And as also is this thing my father's big brother मोठे वडील, they are very much talented regarding about that. And most of the time मोठे वडील म्हणजे माझे मोठे वडील, they are not really home at most of the time. Like basically is this thing that the like age gap difference are too much. Okay, probably is this thing means like that my father and my father's big brother, they have almost like a maybe 5 to 7 year of gap. Okay, yeah. Now probably this is very much common today, but at that time this was not actually common. Okay, I'm not going into the details and things and that, but this is kind of like a things. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki माझे मोठे वडील, my father's big brother, are kind of like a simply got a job, they went to the college, and most of the time they are not at the home. Okay, so entire responsibility of home is belong to my father. My father is a kind of like a doing everything. So my father is a kind of like a cooking. Okay, yeah, they kind of like a make bhakri or roti or things and that and that. Now because of my grandfather was servant, so they are kind of like a doing their servant thing to the patil. My grandmother is also a kind of like a doing daily wages, so she kind of like a work in other people farms. Okay, so basically it's this thing that my father made a meal for everybody. Okay, yeah, like not just like just my father, like my grandmother too, but like basically it's this thing that they have kind of like a stuff to do or job or things and that and that. Okay, yeah, the whatever the kind of like a responsibility that they have at home, my father kind of like a do this thing. Kind of like a somebody sending my atya, means like that their sister, my father's sister, went to the school. So basically my father kind of like a, yeah, father helped to my atya to kind of like do the schooling and things and that and that. By the way, my father is also kind of like a went to the school, by the way. Okay, it's not like that they didn't play out, they went to the school. Okay, but they seen a very tough life, very tough life. They haven't really kind of, and I actually experienced this thing. Okay, their behavior, it's somewhat something still in that particular zone. Okay, let me tell you one thing now. Have you ever kind of like a noticed that some people, even if they are kind of like a became so rich, but their lifestyle is kind of like a somewhat something like a the way that they used to be kind of like a poor, but their lifestyle is still poor, even if they are kind of like a rich. Dhirubhai Ambani. Okay, yeah. No, not Dhirubhai Ambani. Mukesh Ambani. Okay, Mukesh Ambani is the fourth richest person in the world. Okay, yeah. But if you've seen him, you never gonna notice that this is the fourth richest person on the planet. Okay, he just kind of like a wearing simple pant and simple shirt, and that's it. He kind of like a look like a very common person. He kind of like a look like a very common person. Okay, so same thing. Okay, my father is also a kind of like a that, because I'm kind of like a sensing the way that he act or behavior or things and that from behavior point of perspective, the way that they interact the world, and like, okay, like basically this thing, I do judge people regarding about looks and things and that. Okay, now how do I supposed to define this thing? Okay, let me kind of like tell you. Okay, I'm judging my father to understand my father mentality and things and that. Okay, not to criticize, but to understanding. Okay, so let me tell you one thing. My father is kind of like a things that let me tell you one thing. Okay, so right now there is a summer today, like a summer is actually here, very strong summer. Okay, my father wear banyan. Okay, my father didn't really have t-shirt till now, didn't really have t-shirt. They just have banyan and they have shirt. When they are kind of like going somewhere, they are wearing shirt, and when they are at home, they are wearing banyan and lungi. Right now lungi is a kind of like a bit more complicated, so I kind of like give them a pant or kind of like a bermuda. Okay, yeah, half pant. They are kind of like wearing half pant because it is way much convenient, and they are kind of like wearing banyan. Okay, it doesn't mean that my father didn't really wanted to buy a t-shirt or things and that. They never really, like, basically it's a kind of like a thing that my father didn't really consider that why do I supposed to be wear a t-shirt at home. Okay, they are kind of like wearing banyan, and this is kind of like they are kind of like somebody living this thing throughout their entire period of lifetime. So this is kind of like stuck in that particular thing. Okay, So from that behavior point of perspective, I try to understand that my father personality and how it should supposed to be. Okay. So my father kind of like a seen lot of struggle, like a very very struggle, big struggle. Okay. They haven't really seen kind of like a sleeper or clothes or kind of like a something like that, keep books and things, all the kind of like a basic amenity. Okay, yeah. Like my father mentioned that key a fan. Okay, the fan, like literally the ceiling fan, table fan, whatever the fan. My father didn't really seen the fan for till the age of maybe kind of like a, like I don't know, but very very long period, like basically for till the age of 15 maybe, probably, but they haven't really seen the fan. Yeah, literally. Now it's a very much common today. At that time it was kind of like a very rare thing. At that time I'm talking about like I'm talking about almost like a 1970 something like that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so like this is kind of like things, and I'm talking about village point of perspective. Okay. Now now basically is this thing, my father knows that he would exactly been struggle and things and that, and my father understand that he basically is this thing that he, their son means me shouldn't supposed to be kind of like a experience the way that my father experienced, the way that they experience. Okay, yeah, being a kind of like a poor and things and that. Okay, first of all is that okay, let's ask couple of questions first. Okay, how does my parents like how does my father are kind of like a went, like a kind of like a assembly, good thing happened, how does actually happen good thing happen? Well, good thing does not really happen, by the way. Okay, yeah. My father did a kind of like a graduation in a BA, BCom, something like that. Okay, yeah. And they became a teacher. Okay, uh, government teacher. At that time, their salary was almost like a maybe 700 rupees, 500 to 700 rupees, nothing really at all at that time. Okay. And then my father got married. By the way, my father got married at the age of 32 something like that, 32 33. Yeah, they are getting married, they are like a married very late. Why does my father kind of like a married very late? Because okay, from that point of perspective this is also very late too, because at that time I'm talking about almost like a 1980 something, 1989 or 1987. Okay, like 1980 1985 वगैरह वगैरह. Okay, in that particular period of time usually wedding shoot supposed to be happen very early. Okay, like early means like that key till the age of like a 25 you male get from male point of perspective, but my father kind of like a something that got married at the age of 32. Why? First of all is that ki, the financial condition is almost nothing really at all. Okay, and the money issue has always been there. Also my father is actually taking the responsibility of entire home and things and that. So there are a lot of kind of like some problems and things, so that's why they are like a, like there are kind of like a lot of delays, specifically financial condition. When my father got a job, then they got married. Okay, yeah. So my father got married. Okay, and then after that my father got married with my mother. Okay, now this is my father's story. Okay, this is my father's story. Now let's tell me about my, I'm gonna tell you my mother's story. Okay, so my mother is a somewhat something privileged than my father. My father, sorry, my grandfather means my mother's father are have, they have farm, and very fertile farm, by the way, and they have kind of like a lot of things. Okay, yeah. Compared to my mother, compared to my father haven't really like a get meal, but my mother condition is really good. They are kind of like a getting meal every single day, not very good meal, but they are getting meal. Okay, they are getting something to eat every single day. My father did not really get that stuff. My mother is like a basically such a such a woman that she was always wanted to be part of the group. Okay, she never really do something different, or maybe she doesn't really have that much courage to do something different. She always wanted to be part of the group. Okay, yeah. Like kind of like a thing is that na ki someone said do this, just do this. Okay, yeah. My mother never really questioned anything at all. Okay, and my mother sees only one dream in her life, her house. Yeah, that's a kind of like a thing is that ki she's a dream about her house, how it should supposed to be, and that and that and that. That's the only thing. My mother, like my mother got married 1990. Okay, yeah. And after 3 years I got born. Okay, in 1993. Okay, basically this thing on that time, like 1990, my father decided that they should supposed to be moved to the taluka. Okay, taluka means sub district, by the way. Okay, yeah. So my father and mother, they kind of like went with me, like basically is this thing that they kind of like went to the Hingan Ghat. Hingan Ghat is a kind of like simply a taluka sub district probably. Okay, and they kind of like simply living their rent, and then I born. Okay, at that time my father's salary was almost like a 700 rupees, and my mother is a housewife. Okay, yeah, she is a kind of like doing everything. My father is a, after they got married, they are kind of like simply have responsibility too. Like basically this thing at that time, my atya means like that my father's sister is also live with us. Okay, yeah. So basically me, my mother, my father, and my father's sister. Okay, yeah. We all are kind of like simply living in kind of like a 2 room rent, very small rooms at that time. My father is a very hardworking guy, like literally is very hardworking guy. At that time they have a kind of like posting on very like a very like a villages which is kind of like a far away from kind of like a simply the where they live. So my father and at that time bicycle was exist. It's not only that bicycle not exists, but obviously my father can't really afford things and that, and buses are not practically available at that time, because right now buses are kind of like a connected to the every city and every villages and things and that, because at that time there is no at that time there is no connection at all. Okay, yeah. So at that time very common vehicle that every man or every kind of like a some particular person has is a bicycle, and my father has a bicycle. Okay, yeah. So my father is a kind of like a simply that ki doing bicycle 30 kilometer. Okay, 30 kilometer went to that kind of like a simply village, do their kind of like a teacher and things and that, and at the evening they kind of like a come back. So I'm not really sure about the exact is 30 kilometer, but somewhat something, probably 20, 25 or 30. Yeah, probably. So they kind of like do round trip almost like 60 kilometer every single time. And my father is a very hard working guy. They kind of like something do lot of thing. Okay. Now cut to when I was born. Okay, so basically is this thing, when I born, my mother mentioned that ki her delivery is a very much kind of like a very much critical. Not critical by the way, but it's a kind of like a thing that na ki her delivery is a little bit complicated. Okay, yeah. The medicine it really required a very expensive medicine. Okay, yeah. When I was in the womb, my mother should supposed to be take the medicine per week because of kind of like her weakness and things and that. Because let me tell you one thing, at that time mother means my mother didn't really get that much kind of like a somebody like a good food. good quality of food. Like basically when the pregnant woman was there, she should really require a kind of like a heavy meal, like a lot of kind of like a pौष्टिक things, okay, like a protein diet and things and that. But at that time my mother didn't really have that thing, okay, yeah. So that's why my mother health is kind of like a became lot very weaker, okay. So doctor suggested that ki kind of like a you have to be take this medicine, specifically this injection, okay, yeah. Now that injection is a very costly, like literally costly, okay, yeah. My mother mentioned that ki she has to be take this injection, one injection per week, okay, yeah. And the cost of that injection was 100 rupees. Now it sounded 100 rupees nothing in today's world, but at that time my father's salary was almost like a 900 rupees, okay, yeah. And per week my mother required that injection which cost 100 rupees. That means 400 rupees. So 400 rupees means half of the salary is kind of like a went into the that injection. 400 rupees, that's the too much, okay, yeah. But still my father managed cut down the expenses and things and that my father managed, and kind of like a somebody that key they kind of like a give this injection, okay, for maybe almost like a 2-3 months, okay, yeah. And as also is this thing now, my when she was actually have that injection, she don't have to do any kind of like a assembly work, like basically cooking or things, or kind of like a mopping the floor, nothing really at all, okay, yeah. She should supposed to be complete 24-hour bed rest, because when she was pregnant, when I was in her womb, she needs to be a kind of like a somebody stay like a very kind of like a very like a do not do any kind of like a hungry work. But then what exactly happened that he my father won't let her do anything at all, because the way that doctor prescribe, okay. So my father kind of like do everything. So my father, he wakes up early morning, my father makes a meal, okay, yeah, for all 4 people, okay. As well as Atya do the same thing too. Atya is also help, okay, yeah. And then my father kind of like took his bicycle, go into the that 30-kilometer drive, 30 kilometer bicycle, do his kind of like a teaching, come back and things and that. My father put a lot of effort, okay. My father always have a lot of expectation regarding about their son too. Now first of all is that why does Indian parents are have kind of like a lot of expectation from their son? It's not just my father's issue, it's a kind of like a common issue probably, okay. Basically in Indian context, okay, that key the son or maybe their next version, okay, it should supposed to be kind of like a better or bigger than us or things and that, okay, yeah. As also is this thing that na ki in Indian context, okay, when father got older, father really required support, okay, yeah. And at that time who will kind of like a support that old father? Obviously his son, okay. So basically is this thing that ki I don't know, like I'm not really sure the exact reason for it, but it's in culture, by the way. In US and Europe, people like the children are kind of like somebody after they cross some sort of age, they will kind of like somebody free from their parents, and they will kind of like go anywhere, okay, yeah. And their parents didn't really bother them, nothing really at all, okay. But in Indian context, the children's, they are kind of like a stay with their parents for rest of the lifetime. And because of this thing, there is a culture anomaly thing actually happened. Same thing goes with my father too. My father actually think that he like my son, okay, yeah. And basically is this thing, then I born, okay, 2nd of September 1993 I born. And I born very with a kind of like a lot of problem, okay. At that time my mother mentioned that ki my weight is underweight, probably I am less than 2 kilo, probably 2 or maybe 1.5 kilo. I'm very less. I'm very less weight. Okay, yeah. So I was kind of like a somebody that key I should supposed to be kind of like a put into the kind of like a some sort of monitoring, baby monitoring instrument. I don't know what exactly is this thing. So that cost a lot. My father took the loan from people and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. And I born. My mother wants daughter. Okay, yeah. Like she thinks that she wants a kind of like a daughter first, but unfortunately, son means I born. Okay, so I am the firstborn. Uh, my father is a very happy. Why? Because their son is born. Like I also born. Okay, so they are kind of like very happy regarding about their son. Okay, and my father loves me more than my mother. Okay, my father never really kind of like a show his love, but they are more. Okay, yeah. My mother is not really that love me, but my father loves me more. Okay, yeah. Very kind of like a rare incident. Okay, yeah, not rare incident, but still is this thing. My father cannot able to be afford anything at all. At that time, that salary was probably very less, 1,000 rupees per month. It's not even kind of like a somebody that's sustaining things and that and that. But still, at that time, my father kind of like a bought me lot of toys. Okay, sorry about the disturbance. All right. So, first of all, why am I telling this story to you? What exactly is this thing matter? Well, it matter a lot. Okay, because sometimes our actions is based on what we think, what we believe, and what our community decide. Okay, yeah. Our decision is never our decision. Okay, because you cannot take your own decision. That is true, by the way. That is true. Your decision, you cannot control your decision. There is always someone opinion, someone thoughts, things and that and that. I'm gonna prove it to you. You wanted to become someone. You wanted to chase a career, but you did not chase that career. Why? After you done your thing, you choose engineering. Why? There are so many things that we did. We think this is our decision, but it's not our decision. Our decision based on specifically community where we live, our thought process, our opinion specifically. Your decision is kind of like an average of your surrounding. That's the true. Now, why am I telling this story? Why am I telling this kind of like my parents' story and things and that and that? Because this is kind of like a somewhat something true. Okay, because my father realized that they will never be succeeded in their life. Nothing really at all. Okay. Okay, let me tell you one thing now. Definition of success is a kind of like a very different. Okay, we determine success by visual point of perspective. Big home, big car, big things and that and that. We consider that kind of like a something success means that. But that is not. Okay. Success is a kind, everyone is kind of like a success in his life. Let me tell you one thing. My father, when he born, they don't really have time to meal. They don't really have 2 times meal per day. They don't really have that thing. But basically, when my father kind of like a something till now, they have a lot of money. They can afford 2 times meal per day. They also can afford, they could buy 2 times meal per day. But still my father does not consider as a successful. Why? is because of that कि successful does not really define by kind of like a something like basically this thing na कि my father also considered that कि like okay it's a very I'm kind of like a thing that na I'm okay I'm trying to tell you the story but very wrong way. Okay, yeah, I'm telling you this point, but let me tell you the story first. Okay, yeah, so that you would understand, you would connect all the dots, and then like I just told you this is kind of like climax, but climax should supposed to be came at the end. Okay, yeah. So where we are, when I was born. Oh yeah, 2nd of September 1993 when I was born. Now my father realized that कि this is not gonna good. Okay, yeah. My father thinks that कि stuff that they experience in a life, the how much struggle and things and that, they think that कि their son means me, I shouldn't supposed to be kind of like a face that many struggle. Okay, yeah. So my father wanted that कि I should supposed to be get a really good childhood, and they put a lot of effort to get that thing. My father put me into the English school at that time. English school. I'm talking about in subdivision where kind of like English school is not even over there. Probably maybe one. But my father put me over there. Why? Because my father believed that ki my son would kind of like add success in the family. Okay. Then because of this thing, my father put a lot of effort. My father thinks that na ki my son will kind of like solve all the problem. Okay, yeah, and for that thing I have to be kind of like give him the better education, better life and things and that. My father moved to the city. My parents are actually moved to the Wardha city. Wardha is a local city. Okay, yeah. Because of me. Okay, yeah, so that their son means me should supposed to be get a really good schooling. I get really good school. Also my father thinks that ki school is not enough, let's give them tuition classes. Okay, my father gave him tuition classes. Like basically who will kind of like get the tuition classes at the 5th standard? I get that tuition classes from the 5th standard. Did I ask? No, but my father give him that. Why? Because my father believe that ki my son will bring the success, my son will bring the success and things and that. And because of this kind of like a something, they decided that ki my son will kind of like bring happiness, bring success and things and that. And they completely forget that ki why not they will kind of like bring the happiness. Why does my son will kind of like bring the happiness? Like this is what kind of like things. Like basically this is kind of like a problem with the Indian context point of perspective. मेरा बेटा इंजीनियर बनेगा, मेरा बेटा डॉक्टर बनेगा. वाई? क्या आप नहीं बन सकते इंजीनियर या आप नहीं बन सकते डॉक्टर? दिस इज व्हाट इट इज. ओके, एंड दिस व्हाट काइंड ऑफ लाइक एवरी पेरेंट्स फिलोसफी द सेम थिंग. मैंने सोचा था मेरा बेटा ऐसा बनेगा वैसा बनेगा, लाइक माई सन विल काइंड ऑफ लाइक बिकेम दिस एंड बिकेम दैट. देन वाई यू आर नॉट बिकेम दैट? Okay, why are you kind of like letting your son responsibility to kind of like become things and that? I'm not kind of like blaming my parents, but this is kind of like a context. Okay, as I mentioned, you are the average of your society. Our society kind of like thinks that कि मेरा बेटा ऐसा करेगा वैसा करेगा, so that my father is also think that कि my son will also kind of like do the same thing. And because of this thing, my father put me into the good school, put me into the tuition classes, put me into the something like that. Now, I am not a good person. Like basically, I am not a good educator. A good education. Like basically this thing. Like let me tell you one thing. When I was kind of like a kid, I am not really a good grasping things. Okay, yeah. But maybe I'm kind of completely wrong with that thing. Okay, because I love getting to know about knowledge. I love getting to know about things. The problem is that ki our education system kind of like based on marks and kind of like things and that. That is a completely incorrect way to understand how much good is person. like I'm not going to talk about the how much fucked up the education system was at, but this is what it is. I'm not really good at the kind of like getting a marks and things and that. So that's why my father kind of like put me into the tuition classes and things and that and that and that and that and that. Okay, my father kind of like thinks that ki probably I should supposed to be kind of like some places thing that ki if I didn't get anything at all in my life, so I will kind of like build another house or things. Yeah, like let me tell you one thing na, ki my parents dream are always associated with me, always associated with me. They seen dreams in me, लाइक माय मेरे मेरे पिताजी के सपने मुझ में देख रहे थे. दे आर काइंड ऑफ लाइक सीइंग ड्रीम्स इन मी, एंड दैट इज़ अ कम्प्लीटली रॉन्ग थिंग. लाइक throughout this artifact I realized that you cannot control other people. You can control just yourself. You cannot control other. Okay, my father, like I'm not kind of like blaming my father, nothing really at all, but this is what it is. This is what kind of like a things that, and that's why kind of like a lot of hopes and kind of like dreams are kind of like a collapse and things and that, because kind of like every kind of like assembly things that ki mera beta aisa banega waisa banega things and that and lot of stuff. I try my father way. Okay, yeah, they put me into the things and that. Okay, yeah, and my father kind of like expecting from me that ki their son means me should supposed to be kind of like get a job, and that's it. Okay, yeah, they didn't really want anything at all, because still societal point of perspective, society thinks that ki till the age of 25 you have to get education, till the age of 27 you have to get married, till the age of 30 you have to have a son, and things and that. And my father also thinks that. Father also kind of like a not letting kind of like a like not letting to go beyond the kind of like assembly community. No, when I tell my parents that ki I wanted to be filmmaker, okay, yeah, my father never really resist me into that thing. Okay, yeah, but like from resist means what, like basically is this thing that ki my father didn't really resist me from verbal point of perspective. From their action point of perspective, they are okay, yeah. And like basically is this thing na ki I decided to kind of like go to the Bombay and things and that to be with my life and things and that, but still is this thing that ki yeah, my father never really allow me, or not allow me, it's like that ki like the condition was not right at that time. I understand myself that ki I was not good enough probably at that time. So basically it's this thing that ki right now my parents, my father actually think that I am a failure. I tried my father way. I tried till the age of till 2020. I tried my parents way. I kind of like simply that ki let down the things that I whoever wanted to be. I wanted to be a filmmaker since I realized that ki whoever I want, like till the age of 17 I wanted to be filmmaker, but I never really took any kind of like action. I just always wanted to be just like yeah, like whatever my father says would be a right, so I just have to do it, this thing. So I just kind of like doing it, that started doing a job and things and that, and I realized how failure I was, like I'm not really good, like I don't want to be do job. And when the COVID happened, I came home and I realized that ki no, I have to be kind of like do it by myself. I have to be listen myself. I don't have to be listen my father and things and that. Now when I choose this thing now, it's a kind of like a very right for me. Okay, yeah, but it's a very wrong for my parents too. Why? Because of that na ki when I chose this career, be a kind of like a somebody filmmaker or be a YouTuber or things and that, okay, this process is a very difficult, lengthy, time consuming, not really sure will I be able to achieve or not. this line of career my father neverly seen, neverly experienced, or neverly understand. So they do not know anything about that. And when there is a scarcity, there is always kind of like a people are prevent from that kid, do not go there and things and that same thing. My parents say things that kid do not go there, but still I decided that I have to go there. Because what will gonna happen, that key today I might kind of like a somebody feel like fuck, but tomorrow I will not. Like basically is this thing, I will not gonna become such a person who just kind of like a simply say this thing that key, what if I would kind of like a listen to myself and I would kind of like a stuff that I wanted to do, I will do this thing so my life would be changed. But I didn't. I don't want to be a particular guy who has a skills to want to become a something really, but I didn't really became because of this. No, I decided that key whatever the kind of like a failure will gonna happen, I will gonna face this thing because this is my mistake. And basically this realization actually happened through the artifact too. I'm 32. I am living with my parents. I'm not really earning any money. I am pathetic. Yeah, you could judge me. You could judge me, things and that and that. My parents also think the same thing. My parents think that ki I am pathetic, loser. I will never gonna achieve my goals. I'm just kind of like a wasting my time. Yeah. There are multiple reason for that. It's not just a kind of like a things. Okay. Like the world that my father lives and the world that I am living is way much different. The world is changing so rapidly that people don't even understand what is actually being changed. Yeah. like like basically it's this thing, like since the AI came, the world is kind of like changing so rapidly. Now what I'm trying to tell you something regarding about world is changing means what thought process, the way that example is this thing that key I could build business. I am building my application, which is kind of like a simply a job that used to really require a kind of like a 10-20 people with a lot of server and things and that. Right now I am alone doing it. That how? Because of the technology changes, mindset change. Okay, yeah, that mindset shift change throughout the time, and it changed so rapidly that let me tell you one thing, I am kind of like understanding that I am kind of like open up, but I will gonna realize that the way that I'm thinking and way that when my son or my daughter will kind of like think is much more different. Yeah, because we are living in such a world where world is changing so rapidly that we just can't even cope up. Whatever. Okay. So my parents actually think that I am fuck loser and things and that. And am I agree on that? I will. I'm not really sure. I just only one thing that I know, that I just have to do my work and I will keep doing my work, keep making videos, keep doing my stuff. I don't know when will I achieve my goals. I don't know when will I achieve my target. I don't have to be prove anyone. Like I'm not doing this thing for that I will gonna prove somebody or prove my parents to things and that. No. I am just wanted to do because I love doing it. Okay, sometimes now it's just like that. Ki I'm not doing this thing for future money or kind of like a showing how successful I will gonna become. No, I just keep doing it, and I'm just keep doing it till I achieve the success, and I will gonna achieve success. I know one day I will. I will not gonna stop when I achieve my success. I will not gonna stop after I achieve my success. I just keep doing my work. I don't really have any reason, but I love the stuff that I'm doing. I love chasing my goals and things. And that is the kind of like a things. If the people think that I am pathetic, loser, fuck, shit, I don't really care at all. Because if I fuck, if I fail, that is my failure. I will take the full responsibility of my failure. Not, I will not gonna kind of like a point out somebody that key because of my parents and things or because of things. No. I will live my life with my own condition and I will gonna succeed. In the end of the day of my life, I will not have any kind of like a regret that my life would be something else. No. Even if I'm fail, even if I'm being continue fail, or even I'm never again succeed, or maybe I don't know. At the end of the life, I might have a kind of like a very small smile in my face that key. Thank you for having this life, and that's it, probably. Okay, there is a one thing now, it's bothering me. Okay, my parents love me, and I love my parents too. And there is only one thing that I decided that I will not gonna do. I decided that ki I will not gonna hurt my parents, but I am hurting them, and that is the kind of like a things that na, ki it's very bothering me a lot, like really, really a lot. I kind of like think that ki whatever fuck happened with me, it should supposed to be happen with me. My parents are always been kept away from all those kind of like a things, but when I chose this career, I drag my parents into this thing too, and I'm hurting my parents, and I feel so wrong, so fucking wrong. Like they like sometimes na it just feels like that ki I am hurting my parents so much, and I don't want it that. If I'm not a particular person responsible for their happiness, then I shouldn't supposed to be give them kind of like a cry. And there is only one thing that I don't want, that ki my parents are cried because of me. But then I realized that ki, dude, the life that I chose at the beginning, you might gonna hurt your parents, and that is true. That's the nature's law. and and yeah, I don't really care about what does people say, things and that. I don't really, it doesn't really affect me that much. But my father, my parents, they did affect, because they are been with living this society for entire lifetime. Their opinion always shaped from the societal point of perspective. Someone asks what is actually your son is actually doing, my parents doesn't really have any answer what they should supposed to be saying. And I don't want my parents should supposed to be put into that stuff. Who do I blame? Do I blame myself? Do I blame my parents? Do I blame this community that I'm living? Do I blame on what? I am blaming nobody at all. This is stuff had actually happened wrong. It happened. I'm not blaming anyone. It's a part of life. And that is true. Sometimes I just kind of like feel like that ki I'm kind of like fighting a very, very long battle that I might not have effort for win, but I will gonna fight every day. I will gonna fight every day. I will gonna fight every day. That hoping that one day I will gonna win that battle. I'm just keep fighting till I last breath, day after day, and day after day. I'm sorry, like if my parents are kind of like listening this thing. I'm sorry for all the trouble that I cause. I know I am not responsible for your happiness. I but I shouldn't. I'm, I'm sorry. Probably you deserve a very good son that should supposed to be kind of like a give the life, but I don't know. I I I I I born from you. You should supposed to be expect a kind of like a really good son that kind of like do something, live the life the way that you wanted to, but I am not. I'm sorry for that. I I just feel like dying. I don't know. I'm sorry for everything, and I don't know. Some things now, I sometimes you wanted to achieve something, you have to be sacrifice, and I am sacrificing. I am like I don't know, yaar. Like basically, this thing I wanted to achieve my goals. I wanted to achieve my ambitions. I wanted to achieve lot of thing in my life, but it takes lot of thing from me too. I will not gonna have opportunity to spend time with my son or daughter or my kids. I would not have time to spend with my loved one. I am because of this thing I am hurting my parents, and everything I am willing to do just for achieving my goals. And even after I achieve my goals, they will never gonna stop things, because after that I still have to be run. I still have to be run. I don't know. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I what? I don't know. I am sacrificing a lot of people in my life for this goal, this achievement, this success. And if I'm sacrificing that many people in my life, I will not gonna lose that thing. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm sorry specifically if you are listening, my parents, father, mother, I'm really, really sorry for everything. Thank you.